Welcome back to the deep dive. This week, look, we're throwing you directly into the fire. We're going deep on the ultimate high-stakes information stack, the decisive final race of the 2025 Formula One season, the Etihad Airways Grand Prix of Abu Dhabi. This is it. This is where the 58-lap story ends and one champion is crowned.
And our mission today is surgical. We're bypassing the basics. We're focusing entirely on the intelligence you need to understand why this race will be decided. We have a three-way championship fight, Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, and we need to understand the ruthless strategy, the kind dictated by this unique Marina track, and all the political fallout that's already setting the stage for 2026.
Yeah, and this isn't just another track, is it? It's a place steeped in championship history. This is the 17th running of the GP since 2009, and the records, well, they tell you exactly who owns this place. Lewis Hamilton, the original master, holds 5 poles and 5 wins.
But the shadow figure looming over this whole weekend is Max Verstappen. He has 4 poles and 4 wins himself. This is their historical battleground, you know. And the setup is just perfect for the final showdown between the next generation and the established legacy.
Okay, let's unpack this ultimate battlefield. Instead of just reviewing the mileage, let's go straight to the danger zones, the places our sources are flagging as championship deciding. Starting with Curva 1, it's infamous.
Curva 1 is the critical contact point. It's wide open, it invites 3, maybe 4 cars abreast at the start, and it's where ambition meets reality. You only have to look back at the start of the 2024 race. I mean, Verstappen and Piastri actually collided, nearly ending McLaren's Constructors' title hopes right then and there. If any of the contenders tangle at that specific spot on Sunday, the third man just walks away with the title. Clean execution there is, well, it's paramount.
And if they survive Curva 1, they then face probably the most strategically complex section of the track, the double DRS trap that runs through Curvas 6 to 9. It just seems designed to frustrate any clean overtake.
Oh, it is. And what's fascinating here is how counterintuitive the strategy has to be. You get the first DRS on that huge straight leading to Curva 6. The immediate inclination is, use it, complete the pass. But if you do that, the car you just passed immediately gets the detection line for the second DRS zone, and boom, they can counterattack into Curva 9.
So the smart play, the intelligence says, is to sacrifice the initial move.
Precisely. You use that first DRS zone just to approach, to put pressure on the leader. You save the actual pass for the second DRS zone leading into Curva 9. That way, you deny the victim the instant counterpunch. You secure your position long enough to break the toe. It requires immense patience, especially under this kind of pressure.
Once they clear the fast straights, drivers are then subjected to that incredibly slow, aesthetically beautiful but difficult section under the Yas Viceroy Hotel, Curvas 12, 13, and 14. Why are these so crucial?
They are strategically ugly. I mean, that's the best way to put it. They're slow, they're anti-camber corners, meaning the banking slopes away from the car. And this current generation of F1 cars, which relies so heavily on aero and high-speed grip, they absolutely hate these corners. Grip is just non-existent, and they punish any driver who's a bit too aggressive on entry. And we all know how easily things can go wrong there. Latifi's 2021 accident in that very sector fundamentally altered the championship that year. It's where the best drivers have to be the most cautious.
And when we look at the circuit characteristics overall, the computer simulation profile shows the track is sort of median across the board, right? Medium tire abrasion, medium stress, medium grip. It's a 3 out of 5 for everything.
That fact is deceptive, though. The only outlier, a 4 out of 5, is track evolution. Because this circuit is built in the desert and it's rarely used outside of F1, the grip levels just ramp up dramatically as rubber gets laid down. The track changes from P1 to the race start more than almost anywhere else on the calendar. So teams that nail their setup for that high evolution surface will have a huge advantage as the temperatures drop and the track grips up.
Okay, let's pivot now from the track to the high-stakes, ruthless math of this title fight. We have 3 contenders, Norris, Verstappen, and Piastri. Our sources say Lando Norris has the widest path, but we don't need to list all 11 algebraic possibilities. What is the fundamental single number Norris needs?
The fundamental insight is this. Norris needs a podium. Simple as that. If he finishes first, second, or third, he is champion, period. Max and Oscar can do whatever they want. The title is Lando's. That's the clean route.
But what if Verstappen manages to win the race, forcing Norris lower? What's the tightest squeeze?
Okay, so if Max wins, Norris still has safety nets down to P4. The margin gets razor thin when Norris finishes, say, P8. If Norris is 8th, Verstappen must finish P2 or worse, and Piastri cannot win. This is where the tension is. Verstappen needs Norris to underperform, significantly. finishing outside the top half-dozen point scorers. Even a 0-point day for Norris only hands Verstappen the title if Max gets P3 or better. And that's assuming Piastri doesn't win.
That makes the scenarios for Verstappen feel incredibly limiting. He is chasing, and he has to maximize everything while basically hoping for the worst for McLaren.
That's the reality. Max has 3 viable scenarios. Winning is the cleanest, but it requires Norris to fall to 4th or worse. If Max only gets 2nd, he needs Norris down to 8th or worse, and Piastri has to be denied the victory. Every single outcome for Max relies on McLaren failing, which they haven't done much of recently.
And Oscar Piastri, bless him, his path is the steepest climb imaginable.
It is the chaos scenario. That's what he needs. Piastri has to win the race, and even then, Norris has to finish 6th or worse. If Piastri takes P2, he needs maximum drama. I mean, Norris must be P10 or worse, and Verstappen can't finish on the podium. He'd need Max down to 4th or worse. Piastri needs multiple simultaneous failures from the drivers ahead of him. He is depending on a spectacular collision in Curve 1, essentially.
Okay, and this is where it gets really interesting, connecting that math to the strategy, because this race is expected to be a simple one-stop race, right? Pirelli brought the C3, C4, and C5, same as last year, and degradation is low. Norris won last year on a medium hard, pitting on lap 26.
And that simplicity is the trap. Because the pit window is so narrow, strategy becomes less about tires and more about track position and pace management. And for Max Verstappen, in a title-deciding race where he needs Norris to fall back, he can't just rely on pure pace.
I noticed in the sources they kept referencing something, well, controversial, almost risky. It was called the anchor plan. What is that, and why would Max even think of deploying it if he needs to win?
The anchor plan is pure psychological warfare. If Max secures the lid from pole or an aggressive Curve 1 move, he has to push like crazy in that first stint to cover any McLaren undercut. But once he's pitted and is on the hard tires, the sources suggest he needs to radically change his approach. Instead of driving away, he needs to do what Lewis Hamilton did in Abu Dhabi 2016 against Nico Rosberg.
Wait a minute, slowing down the pace? That sounds insane when you're trying to win. Wouldn't that expose him to huge risk from, like, the Ferraris or Mercedes?
That is the huge high-stakes risk. The goal is not to escape. The goal is to throw the anchor, compress the pace, and allow the other hungry cars, Antonelli, Hamilton, the Ferraris, maybe even the Racing Bulls, to catch up to the train. He is intentionally bringing rivals into the fight, hoping those cars will catch up and interfere, act as blockers, or create contact that pushes Norris out of those crucial podium positions.
This means McLaren's counterplan has to be almost, I don't know, boringly calm.
Absolutely. McLaren has to completely ignore Max's base games. If Verstappen is driving slow, fine. They have to focus purely on executing their own one-stop, making sure Norris hits that podium target. They have to avoid the undercut trap and any psychological pressure for Max. If Norris is in P3, Max can anchor all he wants. It doesn't matter.
And what about Piastri in this scenario? He's the third contender, but if he's not leading, what is his tactical role for McLaren?
If Piastri is not in contention for the win, he transforms into the most critical defensive asset. He becomes the firewall. If Max does throw the anchor and the field compresses, Piastri needs to be positioned right behind Norris, acting as a buffer. He has to use the width of his car, his presence, everything to protect Norris from being passed by that incoming stampede of Mercedes and Ferrari cars. His goal is to be a distraction and a shield.
That reliance on ruthless strategy brings us nicely to the political dramas brewing off track, which are already defining 2026. Let's talk about that scandal from Qatar with Red Bull and Sauber.
Yeah, that was a monumental political misstep. Red Bull made some highly inappropriate comments about potentially letting Kimi Antonelli pass. They then had to immediately walk it back and retract everything. But that moment gifted Toto Wolff, the Mercedes team principal, immense political ammunition.
And the human cost of that slip-up was enormous.
It was ugly. Mercedes reported receiving over 1,000 messages of abuse directed at Antonelli after that incident. It just underscores how quickly F1 politics, even minor strategic leaks, can cause real-world damage and fuel these massive rivalries, especially when Toto Wolff is involved.
Shifting to confirmed futures, we do have some major driver confirmations for 2026. Yuki Tsunoda is officially stepping out of a primary driver's seat, moving into a test and reserve role.
Which then, officially clears the path for HAJAR'S to be confirmed as Max Verstappen's new teammate at Red Bull starting in 2026. This is the moment they've been waiting for. And this domino effect lets Racing Bulls confirm their lineup with Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad for 2026. It's a massive overhaul in the Red Bull driver pipeline. It suggests a really clear strategic direction for the new regulations.
Before we wrap up team notes, we absolutely have to acknowledge Williams. They secured P5 in the Constructors with 137 points. That is just huge.
It's a massive transformative leap. I mean, think about the comparison. They were ninth last year with a measly 17 points and seventh in 2023 with 28. Securing fifth place is the dream realized for team principal James Fowles. This huge financial injection, the momentum, it's going to set them up incredibly well for the 2026 regulation change. This result means everything to their future.
We also say goodbye to an era, as this is the last race for the team under the iconic Sauber name before they become Audi in 2026.
And despite finishing last in the Constructors table, they did manage to set a strange little record, 22 points. That is the highest points total in F1 history for a team that finished last overall. It just highlights the competitive intensity of this season.
Finally, let's talk Mercedes, because they are confirmed third in the Constructors, 33 points ahead of Red Bull. Our sources suggest they could truly be the judges of this final race.
They are the crucial variable. They're the ones Max is relying on in the anchor plan. They're close enough in pace to be brought into that fight. But the internal battle there is just as spicy. Kimi Antonelli, the debutant, is only 2 points behind Lewis Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship.
That's a huge narrative, isn't it? The rookie potentially beating the seven-time champ in his final season with the team?
Absolutely. The Hamilton versus Antonelli battle for final position is going to add tremendous spice, regardless of the championship outcome. They have every incentive to push hard and maximize their own points, which means they are exactly the cars Max will be trying to compress the field onto.
So synthesizing everything we've covered, the unique track, the high-stakes math, and the, well, desperate strategic measures available, this race really just hinges on flawless execution.
It truly comes down to three things. One, Lando Norris has to ignore the pressure and just secure a P3 position, just get on the podium. Two, Max Verstappen has to execute a clean pole or curve a one overtake and then have the psychological resilience to throw the anchor and gamble. And three, McLaren must use Oscar Piastri as an effective firewall to shield Norris from the intentional chaos Max is trying to create.
This weekend will crown the champion of a 2025 season that has shifted so dramatically. From the initial Piastri hype to Lando's mid-season dominance and now closing with Verstappen's incredible late-season momentum, it is a knife-edge fight right to the final flag.
And that leads to the final provocative question for you, the listener. We know Verstappen's natural inclination is to clear the field and win by 20 seconds. That's just what he does. But given his need to execute this risky anchor plan to force Norris out of the points, will the pressure of maximizing the title points override his natural instinct? Or will he push too hard, simply drive away, and hand Norris the podium he needs? Something for you to mull over as we approach that final turn.